Hi guys, thanks for joining me once again on this Saturday morning. It's story time once again. I've got three viewers' stories, three lots of stories that are sent into my channel, and I hope you're going to enjoy listening to these today. Right, just by coincidence, when I read the stories last week, there was a raging thunderstorm going on right outside my window here in Bangkok, and again today the same thing. We haven't had any thunder all week, just happened to start reading the stories and we have a thunderstorm. So I hope it doesn't interfere with the sound too much. You might not even be able to hear it, so I'll just go for it. Let's get into the first of three stories for today.
สวัสดีค่ะ
I was living in Honolulu, Hawaii, and had pretty much run through the single scene. It was unfulfilling at best. Bars, nightclubs, the island is small, and the dating market was so thin on the ground. A friend of mine was constantly talking about his trips to Thailand. Of course, it sounded amazing, and I started watching YouTube Thailand videos. I watched a few party scenes and such, but was told about the app Thai Friendly. I downloaded the app for a giggle. Having grown tired of the Western dating scene, I thought it may be worth a shot. I matched with a few women and landed on one girl's profile who looked cute, very cute and definitely my type, but once into the profile I noticed the age difference and clicked off. Within seconds I had a message from her asking why didn't I message her. My response, you're too young. I messaged her at the time she was 23 and I was 40. She insisted we continue to chat. She was beautiful, humble and spoke good English, so I figured why not. We texted off on and off for a few days on the Line app. Her name was Knock. She was a great conversationalist and never asked me for anything but beyond my attention. I had heard all the horror stories of ladyboys and working girls being on the apps and did not want to be caught out. Could I have really gotten this lucky? Conversations went on for weeks, then months. She was genuine and a relationship was starting to form. Maybe she wasn't aware of how good looking she was, but it was obvious her focus was only on me. I suggested she come to see me in Honolulu. Naively, I thought coming to America from Asia was easy. Much of Honolulu is like Tokyo, tourists from Asia everywhere. I quickly learned she needed a visa. We contacted a visa broker, big mistake. Their website seemed legit with all glowing reviews. I paid the fee for a tourist visa, and when the day came for her interview with customs, I was met by a call with her in tears. She had been denied entry. It was really bad news at the time, perhaps only warranted a change in plans. Coincidentally, that week, the same friend who was always talking about Thailand said he was planning a trip to Bangkok to visit his girlfriend, whom he had met on Facebook, a friend of a friend. I immediately said I would go too. I had never visited Asia, and going with a friend made the trip much less intimidating. I booked the same flight, and a couple of weeks later we hopped on a severely delayed Air China flight. Our layover was in Shanghai. The terminal was in the middle of construction on a beautiful new facility. Some new parts were open, but much of the old terminal was still in use. My phone was all but useless in China, so I was unable to get a message through to Knock about the 4-hour delay. Eventually, we boarded a bus and we were ferried out onto the tarmac to a very old Boeing 737. Everything about this flight was against my better judgment, but I boarded this ancient tin cylinder and managed to arrive despite a very active flight. I have flown hundreds of times, but I was so tired I didn't really notice a severe turbulence on the way. We eventually arrived in Bangkok and at about 4 a.m. and Knock was there to greet me. I couldn't believe it. She had waited all night. She had even checked into the hotel. This was the first time I'd seen her in person. 5 feet tall, maybe 90 pounds, olive skin and long black hair. She was beautiful. We jumped in a taxi. She handled all the haggling in Thai and off we went to Ceylon. We took what seemed like a long ride to the Siri Saturn Hotel in Ceylon. Back then it was a great boutique hotel. I can be very judgmental when it comes to hotels, but it was like having a fancy apartment in Bangkok. It came with a full kitchen, dining area, living room and bedroom. Since then, the hotel has changed ownership and been left to decline post-COVID. This was my first time visiting Thailand. The jet lag was brutal. We spent a few nights in Bangkok eating the overpriced food in the tourist areas. I didn't know any better. I even paid $60 for a bottle of Jack Daniels at a 7-Eleven. I was unaware of the import tax and how much 2,000 baht was in US dollars. About 3 times the usual price, I guess. After a few days in Bangkok, we headed down to Pattaya as my buddy was also headed there with his companion. Travelling through Thailand is so much easier with someone who knows the language and the ropes. I booked a hotel and was quickly made aware to not judge a property based on the photographs on the hotel booking site, Agoda or any other booking sites. I had pre-booked it. It looked amazing. When we arrived, we came to learn that the pool was under construction along with much of the rest of the property. This was both our first time seeing Pattaya and Walking Street. Not thought it was wild. I never been in an environment like this, and it was strange to watch people from all walks of life. Bar girls begging us to come into their bar and have a drink with them. Touts holding up signs outside of the venues encouraging us to come into the liveliness and all the beautiful people everywhere. We spent a week in Pattaya. During that time, my friend had to head back to Hawaii. I had another week before my departure. Nock and I decided to go back to Bangkok and spend some time around the Sukhumvit area. Several nights there and I was ready to move again, far too crazy with the traffic in action. Soy cowboy was not my style. I was used to city life, but this was another level of wild. I was also not in the market for pay for play, but still wanted to experience the entertainment areas. We ended up back in Ceylon at the previous hotel, this time with a much nicer room, a huge upgrade. We spent the remainder of our time together at the night market and enjoying the local food. Eventually, the day came when I had to return to Honolulu. I had a business there and bills to attend to that I couldn't be delayed any longer. It was a heavy feeling in my heart. My flight departed at 1 p.m. As many hotels there were plenty of taxi drivers waiting outside. Nock negotiated the price and off we went to the airport. The driver knew I was going to the airport and I was running late, of course. We get on the road and after a couple of U-turns, I tell Nock to ask the driver what he's doing. He needed to get gas. I was livid. The driver knew I had a flight to catch and he also knew that I was running late. He still accepted the fare and asked me for the money to buy gas. Not much choice at this point. We arrived at the airport. I promised Nock I would get back to Hawaii, resolve my affairs and come back to Thailand as quickly as I could. She was sweet about it, but I could tell she wanted to believe me, but her better judgment was telling her that this was probably the last time we would see each other. I'm sure all her friends and family warned her that I would come visit, get what I wanted and bail out, never to be seen again like many do. Her worst fears being realised, I walked towards customs and looked back at least 10 times. Our eyes never met. She looked back. I watched her take the escalator down to the MRT station. It broke my heart. Reality was setting in that I now had 20 hours of flight time in front of me to think about the future and how to move forward with this amazing girl. This was part 1 out of a possible 3. If anyone deems it interesting, I would be happy to continue the tale, the next chapter in the return trip to Thailand. So, yeah, I'm sure there's hundreds and hundreds of guys who have been in this situation. They've met a girl on Thai Friendly or one of the other dating apps. They've come out here, had a great week, 2 weeks, something like that, headed back with the intention of coming here again, and maybe they never seen the girl again. But it's right what he says. You know, a lot of guys lie to these girls and they'll jump on the plane and say, yeah, I'll be back, I'll see you again, I'll send you some cash, whatever, and they just forget them. In fact, I had a guy leave a comment recently who said, I actually lie to bar girls. I tell them I'm a businessman and I live here just to get extra favours. And I don't think that's the right thing to do. I'm no white knight, but he said when he leaves, he doesn't even say goodbye to them. You know, I mean, I think that's awful. If you're going to spend a couple of weeks with somebody, at least have the decency to say goodbye to them. You know, I mean, I know they're trying to deceive us and get money and all the rest of it, but, you know, they come from impoverished backgrounds. I think you'd do the same in their shoes. As I said, I'm not a white knight. I just, you know, it's just decency, isn't it, on a human being's side. Right, okay, let's get into story number 2. 2019, August, the company that I worked for told me to use my time off or lose it at the end of the year per company policy. I quickly planned my 3rd vacation to Thailand, really without the money to do so. A few months later, I was in Patong. On my first night there, I met a very pretty petite woman named Lek. She told me that she had just started working in the bar and had not gone out with a customer like they all do, right? I had a great time with her playing pool, but I drank too much and I got kicked out of the bar on my first night in Phuket. I was not rowdy, I was just drunk, really falling over. I'd had enough, according to the female bar owner. I'd had enough to drink to sink a battleship. I was not happy, but I paid my bill and I went back to my hotel. I also later found out I had left without my wallet in the process. The next morning, I realised my wallet with all of my cards was missing and I was 9,000 miles from home. What to do? I went searching for it. After some research, I found out when the bar opened and I came back then to find the only woman opening the bar was Lek. She seemed happy to see me and gave me my wallet with all of my money still in it. I had such a good time with her the night before and I was so impressed to get back my wallet with all of the money still in it that I promised to come back to her that night to see her again. I did exactly that. In fact, I did see her every night of my vacation. By the second night, I guess I was unsure on my feet after a day or too many beers. She offered to walk me back to my hotel. When we got back to my hotel, I was very interested in aerobics, but I didn't have protection, and that's a no-go for me. I don't go to Thailand for the amazing women. I go to parties, so I don't carry protection with me normally, so no aerobics. She stayed the night in my hotel room. I gave her 2,000 baht in the morning, which was much more than the going rate at the time. After all, I got my wallet back, right? Nothing missing. The next morning at the hotel, it was obvious she'd never been to a Western-style hotel before. She took a very long, very hot shower. When she came out, she asked me when the heated water stopped. I told her the hotel was about 15 floors with, I imagine, has nearly endless hot water all the time. That and a few other things led me to believe she was honest about just starting at the bar. At the time, I was 45. According to her, she was 38. I later found out that this was to be true. Why I didn't go for a younger woman that night? Again, I go to party. I'm not trying to find a girlfriend. On some rare occasions, I just enjoy some company for the night. I hope you understand why, even on my third trip to Thailand, I fell for this woman. She has a big heart and not just for rich farang. And I honestly believe to this day she was new at the bar. 3 years later, a piece of land and a house that she now owns, she has been coached very well by her Thai female mentor who taught her how to get farang sponsors, tell them she loves them only, and is now an expert at extracting money from each of her sponsors. From what I hear, she was quite wealthy by Thai bar girl standards. If truth be told, I was the first of these sponsors, a very naive foreigner who come to Thailand for the first time. I put her children through school, bought her that house. Do I regret it? Of course I regret her decision to do that to me. Do I regret drastically changing her daughters' lives? Not at all. I have known so many people that blindly give money to a charity, never knowing where that money goes. There are 2 young girls who have had their lives drastically improved by me. Money well spent and well done to Lek for being so streetwise and improving the lives of her daughters as well as her own. Yeah, quite a nice story there. And he's quite right. You know, if you're wondering what he was talking about just starting in the bar, a lot of the times what girls will say to guys who haven't been to Thailand before, they'll say, look, I've just started working this bar tonight. I've never been with customers. I just get money from drinks and I'm learning the ropes, as it were. And to somebody who's a bit naive, who's a rookie out here, doesn't know, if he believes that, that makes that girl very attractive, doesn't it? Because he's thinking, well, she hasn't been working in the bar, she hasn't been out with customers, and she's much more likely to find a permanent boyfriend with somebody who she tells that story to. But guys who have been out here many, many times, and you guys who watch a video, you should know by now it's just a play to soften you up, as it were, to make you believe things that aren't true and extract more money out. But he's also true in the other thing he says about the daughters. You know, a lot of the time people sign up for charities for children and all sorts of things, you know, and they don't know where the money goes. You send £2 a month, $3, wherever you come from, and it's just, you think it's going to a charity, and you find out it's going to support some huge office in the middle of New York or London, and the CEO of that charity is on a massive salary and driving a huge company car. At least by giving the money to these 2 rural girls to go to school, you know where the money's going, you can see it's doing some good, and as he said, no regrets in that. So well done to him for at least bettering their lives. Right, let's get into our third and final story, and this is a warning to a few people out there to be very, very careful with your wallet when you're away. These stories all come from my time in Thailand whilst I was working in Australia back in 2012. During breaks in between harvest or seeding, working, etc., I used to go to Thailand from Perth in Australia. I was on a working holiday visa in Australia from Scotland and decided to visit Thailand as my friend from back in Scotland was living in Pattaya at the time. Australia was an amazing country, but to have a month-long holiday there, it would cost me a fortune, and I know my money would go so much further in the land of smiles. I can remember at work I used to think after 1 hour working I could buy 3 beers or so in Thailand, or even 2 beers and a ladies' drink. I didn't go to pubs or restaurants much while at work, so it was a great way to save, and knowing I could blow it all and let my hair down when I got to Thailand, and that's exactly what I planned to do. The time had come to leave my current place of work and head out to a backpackers hostel in Perth City for a couple of days. I hated staying in those places, and even at around $30 a night, it was eating into my spending money. I know that's a good price for accommodation, but sleeping on the top bunk and having people coming in and out of the room at all hours of the night eventually gives you a bad night's sleep. Plus, I was like a little kid and so excited to get on the aircraft to Thailand. Finally, the day arrived and I boarded the aircraft direct to Bangkok, which I think took around 6 hours. I can't actually remember, to be fair. Eventually, I landed and headed straight to Pattaya. I found the hotel I usually stay in on Soi 7 in Jomtien. The lady who owned it was really nice, and even today we remain good friends. She has since sold the bar and lives with her husband in Sweden. I was just doing the north from the first week or 10 days and drinking every day and eating far too much food, frequenting other bars and finding new ones, trying to find a lady who I could invite back to my hotel, and so on. Around 1 or 2 weeks into a month-long stay, I was looking for a bar to watch a much-anticipated Scotland versus England game, football. I had been drinking all day and was excited to try and find a random new bar to watch the game, which was going to be kicked off around 10 or 11 p.m. Thai time. I went to a couple of sports bars and they weren't showing it or were closing, so I took a motorbike taxi to LK Metro and I went to iRover's bar, which people through the day had told me would be the best place to watch it. I think I was like the only Scottish supporter in there, but I didn't care. I was there to have a good time and hopefully Scotland would win. I still have no idea as to who won that day. The game had finished and it could have been around 12 or 1 a.m. I was absolutely drunk and should have gone home, but decided to carry on the night in Walking Street. I staggered from iRovers to Walking Street, and I can remember holding on to lampposts etc. to get my balance. Boy, was I drunk. Anyone who would have wanted to kidnap me probably could have very easily without my knowledge. Every now and then I had to sit down and take a breather, talking to random people and street sellers. I was a friendly drunk and I like to try to show this, not like many other idiot drunks we see in Pattaya these days. I walked staggered into Walking Street, and I think I went to Rock and Roll Bar. Not quite sure of the name, but they always have live music on and it's a very big bar that sits on the left side. I had another few rum and cokes and listened to the music. I was in no fit state for aerobics that night, so wasn't on the hunt for female companionship. But looking back, I should have found someone to take care of me after what you're about to hear. I left the bar at around 2 a.m, saw some stunning ladyboys in the street with my beer goggles firmly glued to my face. They had the best bodies and beautifully fitting dresses showing their figures. Please note, I'm not gay in any way and have never experienced a ladyboy, or would I have aerobics with one, but these girls, or guys, whatever you want to call them, were stunning. One asked if I wanted to go short time, but I refused. I stood and talked to them for a bit and we laughed and joked as they tried to get me to go with one of them. After refusing and saying goodbye, I shouted out for a motorbike taxi and left to go back to the hotel. This is where it gets interesting. I was heading up the hill on the way to Jomtien and I realised I couldn't feel my wallet squashed into the motorbike seat, which I normally could as it was where I kept my Thai baht coins. Also, I felt around a bit, my pockets for a bit, whilst the driver took me to the hotel. We arrived at the hotel and I checked every single pocket and my wallet had definitely gone. I was not sure exactly how much money I had in it, but all my ID and bank cards were in there also. Luckily, I had money in my front pockets. It was only about 300 baht, but it was enough to pay the taxi man. After panicking for a while, I decided to go back to Walking Street to confront these ladyboys who I was talking to before I left. I got a taxi back and seeing them, they obviously played dumb. There was nothing I could prove and didn't want to kick off with any of them. I asked in the bar if, by closing time, if anybody had handed in the wallet, and they told me to come back in the morning. So now I'm without a wallet and bank cards and ID, etc., and I've got about 10 baht left in my pocket. I bit the bullet and decided to get home, not knowing about the 10 baht bus that took people at the corner of Second Road to Jomtien. I started to walk back to the hotel as there is a 7-Eleven near where I stay and a Bangkok Bank ATM and branch next to it. I walked in my drunken state, somewhat sobering up by now, and walked alone. I had no idea where I was going and looked for the go-karting place I knew because once I saw that, I knew the way home. Easy Cart, I think it's called. Now get this, I wanted to call the woman at the hotel who was a great friend of mine. You couldn't make this stuff up. Someone had actually stolen my phone during my trip back to find my wallet, and as if the night couldn't get any worse, my phone and wallet were now missing. Eventually, I made it back to the hotel after going down some dark streets and being drunk. I was so silly. I would stop to ask people the directions. Some people didn't speak English, but I managed to get by with my broken Thai and a little of their broken English. There were still some people around, nice older Thai people who wondered what I was doing but were not aggressive towards me. They helped me and pointed me in the right direction, so I went into the 7-Eleven that was near my hotel and asked the staff if they had a number to call the Bangkok Bank in emergencies. A nice Thai man who was just a customer in the shop buying stuff also had a Bangkok Bank card. He took it out and showed me a number to call on the back of his card. I thanked him and took off to my hotel to get some money from my room. I went to the 24-hour internet cafe to call my bank in Scotland on Skype. I explained what had happened and they cancelled my card. I couldn't get any help to call the Bangkok Bank, so decided to go to the main bank in the morning once it opened. The day after, I reflected on my antics and what had happened the night before, and I arranged a meeting at the Bangkok Bank in Jomtien. I explained to them that I had my wallet stolen. They checked my bank account and it was empty. They told me to contact the police and I had to go to Soi 9. The police weren't interested and gave me a letter just to show the bank I had been to see them and what my story was. I explained to the bank my card had my signature on the back and how could anyone use it by copying my signature. They investigated and pulled up a receipt from where and when my card had been used. The till receipt had a Thai signature on it and there was 2 transactions for 14,000 baht. I thought I would never see this money again and was annoyed that even though I signed my card, how can someone else use it and sign it with a different signature and everything is just fine. The person working in the shop should have looked up at the signature and saw that something isn't right, surely. But no, I'm sure they were quite happy to take my money for whatever this person bought. In the end, I didn't get any money back, which I half expected anyway, and had to borrow money from my Thai friend who owned the bar hotel I stayed in. She gave me 4,000 baht, and as I was leaving soon to return to Australia for work, I had to exchange the money at the airport to Australian dollars just to get a roof over my head for a couple of nights while I sorted out work. I returned to work and after a couple of weeks transferred 5,000 baht to my friend, which she was so happy about getting a tip. Also, 5,000 baht was the minimum amount I could send as an international transfer. So I had a very drunken night and spent a lot of money, lost my wallet and my phone. I can look back and laugh now about how daft it was. It's a great story to tell my friends, but as the time I was stupid and drunk. Well, this is Thailand and stuff does happen. We live and learn. Hope you enjoyed this story. It's taken me so long to write on my phone. I could tell he wrote it on his phone because there was no capitalization and it was all, let's just say there was a lot of editing to be done. I'll be polite, okay? Right, okay, so look, if you're coming here and you're going out for the night and it's possible you're going to get drunk, I've never understood why guys take the complete wallet out with them, you know, all their foreign Visa cards, debit cards, whatever, and all their money. I mean, there's absolutely absolutely no need. Every single hotel now has an in-room safe. You'll hear people say to you, "Oh, but they're not safe. The staff are in, they're in each other's hands, and you'll get money stolen out your safe, or they're so easy to open. There's so many videos on the internet." I've never personally heard of anybody having a problem with stuff going missing in their room from an in-house safe. Only then, if it's a bar girl, a guy's come back drunk with a bar girl, he's put his keyed in his number, she's been stood over behind him, she's clocked the number, he's fallen asleep drunk, and she's had everything away. But generally speaking, they're safe. So what I would do, if you come here and you've got your full wallet, just estimate what you need for the night, put 50% on top of it, and just take that cash out. You don't need to take ATM cards out. You don't need to take Visa cards out. And, if you lose what you've got on you for that night, then it's not a big deal, is it? If you think you're going to spend 4,000 baht or 6,000 baht, whatever it is, take out 10,000 bahts, a couple of £100, 300 US dollars, spread it out among your pockets. If it gets lost or stolen, it's not the end of the world, is it? Nobody likes to lose money, but it's not most of your money. The other thing to be wary of, if you haven't been here before, sorry to say it, but it is a fact of life. Lady boys, you have to be very, very cautious of, because there's a lot of people who try and get hold of your money, but lady boys are relentless. They'll come up to you and hug you. You won't feel a thing. Guys, I've had friends who have lost gold chains, rings, watches, money, wallet. I've had it done to me. I came down from the 3rd floor on Nana Plaza years ago. The lights were turned off. 2 lady boys were coming up. One of them grabbed me. The other one had her hand or his hand in my pocket, but I knew what was going on, so my wallet was always in my front pocket, not in my back pocket, so I could feel it. And as soon as they approached me, I put my hand in my pocket and I grabbed my wallet, and this lady boy even tried to pull my fingers off my wallet. She didn't get it, but you've just got to be very, very careful. Okay, right. And if you haven't been here before and you're planning to come here, don't think like everybody's thieves and everybody's going to steal from you and everybody's horrible. It's not. It's a great country. The people are nice, but it's like anywhere else in the world. You have to be cautious. There's crime everywhere, even where I live in the UK, which is a quiet market town, or used to live. But other than that, don't let it put you off. Right. Okay. That ends the sermon for today. So that's it with the stories. I'll be back next Saturday, Sunday night for the live stream, still in the UK, 9 p.m. for the regular live stream, and 10:45 Sunday night for the members live stream. Until then, thanks for watching me again, and I'll catch up with you real soon.